Hi friends, Robin here from Cheese from Scratch, and today I'm going to be making a girl dinner. So I find myself on this day by myself. There's nobody here, and that never happens. Like, I can't think for the last maybe like 11 years that I have actually been in a house in the evening at dinner time with nobody else here. So I wanted to try the girl dinner trend. I don't know, actually, what is girl dinner? Girl dinner is a slang term that gathered traction in the mid-2023 when TikToker Olivia Mahar posted a video showing her simple uncooked dinner comprised of bread, cheese, grapes, and pickles, calling it girl dinner, and jokingly comparing it to a medieval peasant's dinner. Several other internet users then shared their versions of girl dinner, which are often charcuterie board-inspired, easy-to-assemble meals with little to no cooking involved. Okay, I did not understand what girl dinner is at all, because mine involves a lot of cooking. What I'm actually doing, I guess, tonight is not making girl dinner. I'm making exactly what I'm craving, because usually I'm making these big batches of meals that are feeding my family. It's things that my family likes, and I like those things too. But I want to make something that's small, that will only feed me, and that is exactly what I am craving. So what I am craving tonight is, hear me out, and this might make you drool. I am craving burrata stuffed with cream cheese and roasted garlic on top of like a thin crust pizza dough. And if you can see behind me, there is just a lot going on in my kitchen right now. I've been processing tomatoes for 2 days, and I still have boxes and boxes of tomatoes to go through. I've got salsa done, I've got several batches of tomato sauce done, but I'm still working on more. So I got tomato sauce going right now, so I might as well add some of that on there. So, you know, I'm going to use that nice tomato sauce. And what else do I want to put on there? Some fresh herbs from the garden. I don't want any meat on there. That's what I thought girl dinner was, like no meat. But maybe that's not that's only rancher girl dinner. When you're married to a rancher, you never have a meal without meat, which is fine. I love meat, but I just want cheese, and I want burrata cheese. So I'm gonna make everything small portions tonight because it's only me, and I never make anything small portions. I got all husky. I never make anything small portions, so that's going to be kind of unique, but I'm thinking that it's only going to take me about an hour to put this dinner together, even though it sounds really complicated. I'm going to be using a quick mozzarella recipe. This recipe is in my Christmas cheese board ebook, and it's actually in that book. It's only a 1 gallon recipe, but I have never, well, I have made it 1 gallon, but I barely ever make it 1 gallon. I'm usually making it like 6 gallons, because really, what's the sense if you have 6 gallons of milk? What's the sense in using 1 gallon? But I'm going to be using 1 gallon today, and then I'm going to be making just like, usually I make a double batch of my bread recipe for the pizza dough, but I'll just do a single batch, and then there will be extra, but I'll pop it in the fridge, and maybe tomorrow night I'll have another cheese from scratch girl dinner. So yeah, and then what else am I gonna need to do? I'm gonna need to roast the garlic and grab the herbs, and it's actually pretty easy other than doing those things. So I'm gonna get started doing those things. So I'm going to be using my citric acid mozzarella recipe today from my Christmas cheese board ebook. This is not my favorite mozzarella recipe. My favorite one is actually the naturally acidified mozzarella recipe, which is also in this book. The next recipe over, but it takes all day to make that naturally acidified one, which I don't have all day. I've only got a short amount of time, so I'm doing the quick citric acid mozzarella one. It's super easy, and yeah, just very quick, like I said. Probably only takes an hour tops. All right, so the ingredients you're gonna need is rennet, single strength, double strength, either work. Just go by the package directions on your rennet. And then you're gonna need milk, and you're gonna need citric acid and some water. So the first thing we're gonna do is I poured my milk into the pot. The recipe in my book here calls for 1 gallon of milk. I'm actually using 1.5 gallons, so I'm just going to adjust the recipe for that. So it calls for a teaspoon of citric acid if you're using 1 gallon, so I'm going to use 1.5 teaspoons for this. And you're just going to dilute it in cool water. And so this is cold milk. I just poured it into the pot. Add that citric acid into this cold water. Going to mix it up. And then you're just going to put it in the pot and you're just going to disperse it through it, like my spoon. All right, so now I'm going to warm this milk up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. While I'm doing that, I'm just going to be working on de-skinning some of my tomatoes. So I'm just going to come back every once in a while and stir it with a real spoon, not a teaspoon, until it gets up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I will come back and add the rennet in and I'll show you that. So if you are new to making tomato sauce, my favorite way to make tomato sauce for canning is to make like a roasted tomato sauce, and you just kind of like cut the tomatoes in half, take the little, what is it called? Little stem out of it, and then you roast them for 45 minutes, and the skins just peel right off, so it saves you having to blanch them. I know that there's a huge debate of if you should keep the skins on your tomatoes or if you should take them off, because lots of people just leave them on and then they blend their tomatoes right back up. I've never left the skins on. I don't know if I can say I'm pro or con. Tell me below if you think that leaving the skins on is fine. The reason that I always took the skins off before was because my tomatoes always got like some sort of like blight-ish thing going on, where I never wanted to keep the skins on anyways when I was making the sauce, so I always skinned the tomatoes before, and they were always just kind of dirty, you know. I never staked my tomatoes up. I guess they didn't all get a blight. Some of them got a blight, and some of them they just like laid on the ground, and so the skins were just really dirty and you just couldn't get them that clean. So I always have skinned my tomatoes. These tomatoes are bought ones from a kind of local-ish farm. Not that local, like I had to drive 3 hours to go and get cases and cases of them, and so that's why I'm doing so many tomatoes right now. It's just because it was a really good price to go and drive and get so many tomatoes, but yeah, I just ended up having a lot of tomatoes to process. So anyways, I'm on like batch 3, I guess, of tomato sauce now, and I've done a bunch of salsa and stuff. These cooled down, so they're a bit harder to skin now, but usually I'll show you one that's good to skin. And if I leave like a little bit on there, I'm not worried about that, because I am gonna just throw the immersion blender in there once I cook it down. But usually, let's find one that will be really good to skin. They just kind of like pop out of their skins like that when you roast them. So the recipe that I'm using, and I'm pretty sure this is the one I've always used, I just didn't keep it, is one from, let me wash my hands. I have it printed out. I'll link it below though. It's a really good one. Makes very good tomato sauce. It's from an OregonCottage.com. Yeah, water bath, safe canned roasted tomatoes. Yeah, I have made them before, that recipe before, but yeah, and I just like that one. Don't forget to stir my cheese because I got things going on. All right, so 95 actually. I got carried away doing my tomatoes and forgot to check on it, but that's fine. 95 is good enough. So now we're going to add our rennet in. As I said, you can use either single or double strength rennet, whatever you have. Don't use junket rennet. That's the only kind you can't use. And so on your bottle, it will say the directions that you want. Sorry, my nails have tomato gunk in them. So half a teaspoon for 4 liters of milk for this single strength stuff. Because I'm using 1.5 gallons of milk, I probably should do 3/4 of a teaspoon, but I'm just gonna do a half a teaspoon because this is raw milk. Sometimes you can use less, as well as it's acidic milk because I added that citric acid in, so I can use less. So I think that's gonna be more than enough, is that half a teaspoon. But go by your recipe directions, it's fine. All right. So we're just going to dilute this rennet in a little bit of cool water. This is a teaspoon, but I'm only filling it about half full. Oh no, except I just dropped rennet in the pot. That wasn't good. Okay, so you're going to dilute it in a little bit of lukewarm water, just like a 1/4 cup of it. And then you're going to add it into your pot. You're going to stir it in right away. Just gentle stirring motion. And then we're going to put the lid on this pot and we're going to come back in about half an hour to an hour. What sometimes happens when you're making this quick citric acid mozzarella recipe is that it sinks right below, like the curd mass sinks right below the whey. So I'm probably going to have something weird going on here when I open up the pot lid. Your milk might not look like that. My cow, she has a protein in her milk called capsaicin BB, and it makes her milk coagulate really quickly. And so I just get like really crazy sinking below the whey. Sorry, there's a little dot of something in there. So I just get like really crazy sinking curds below the whey when I make this quick citric acid mozzarella. This is something that you don't see when you make other recipes that don't acidify the milk before, that use a bacteria, that it's much slower. But with this recipe, yeah, you often see that it's sunk below the whey. Totally okay. I have a little rhyme for it. If it's sunk below the whey, it's okay to stretch right away. Make myself laugh. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid on this and yeah, just wait for half an hour or so, and then I've got to start my bread dough, right? So I'm gonna start my bread dough now that my cheese is coagulating. So I need 2 cups of water. This is totally gonna screw up my brain halving this recipe, but I need 2 cups of water, 2 teaspoons of yeast, so just dry active yeast. Just throw that into that water, and that water should be like a lukewarm. You don't want it to be cold. If you're watching this, you probably already bake bread though. You're probably better at baking bread than I am. Like 2 tablespoons-ish of olive oil. Half a teaspoon of salt-ish. And 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2-ish. Measure from the heart. Alright. So now I'm going to let this bloom, which means, fancy words, it just means I'm going to let this sit for like 10 minutes until the yeast gets all kind of bubbly on top, and then I can go on to adding my flour in. So while my garlic is blooming, or while my stuff is blooming, I'm just going to make a little roasted garlic here. Put you to the side. So I just cut off the bottom off a little garlic. Then I got it in a little oven-safe dish. I'm just going to drizzle it with olive oil. That goes in the oven and roasts away. Alright, so it's all bloomy. Ish. Sometimes it gets more bloomy than that, but I think my water was too cold. That'll happen. That means it will rise slower. So that's okay. Now I'm gonna get my flour out. So we're gonna go 6 cups of flour. Actually, we're gonna go 5 cups of flour. Ignore what I said. 5 cups of flour. And reserve the 6th. How many did I do? Shoot, I didn't count. Okay, we're going however many that was. Stir up our bloomy bread here. Throw that in. And then I'm going to throw this on with the dough hook for about 10 minutes. And I can't remember how much flour I added in there, so if I need more flour, I'll just add more in. And we're going for like a good, just like nice bread dough. Just white bread dough. So what I mean by a good bread dough is when it kind of breaks free from the edges of the bowl. You see it's kind of picking up its own little, any of the little straps on the edge, and it's really just broken free from the edges of the bowl. That's when you know you've got a good bread flour going on. So this has been kneading for about 10 minutes. I've added several different slots of flour. And so when you slow it right down, see it sticks to the bowl a little bit, but when you heat her up, it's able to clean the bowl. So that's kind of how I tell if it's a good texture. Slow it down. And here's a trick for you. Keep her going fast for a second, and then you're going to add some olive oil. Add a little bit of olive oil here. And now you just grease the sides of your bowl, and then you can stop her. And the sides of your bowl are greased. So that's a KitchenAid hack for you. Pull this out. So it's all greased the side of the bowl. Now I'm going to let this sit until it doubles. Now a lot of times I'll wash my bowl if I'm making a big batch, because bread dough that's stuck to the side of the bowl is terrible to wash, but because I'm making a girl dinner, I'm lazy tonight. So I'm going to let this sit in here and double in size. Usually takes about an hour or so. And I just put like a damp cloth over top, or a piece of plastic wrap if you have it. Something to kind of keep the humidity in there. Will help it rise. There, 1 hour. Alright, so I've officially finished peeling about 50 pounds of tomatoes. That's not quite right. 46 pounds of tomatoes, just finished. I immersion blended it. It's in the roaster. Gonna start cooking down now, and I'm gonna check on our mozzarella. So I want to show you a little trick for making sure your mozzarella is ready to stretch, because that is the key when making mozzarella, is making sure that it's actually ready to stretch. So there's so many places where you can go wrong when you're making mozzarella. It's a bit of a tricky cheese. You can see how my mozzarella is kind of sunk down below this layer of whey. That's what I was talking about before. And it's actually, so it's not actually even giving me a clean break, but it's sunk down below this whey. So this seems super strange, but this will actually stretch into mozzarella if I heat this way up. So I'm going to show you that. This is kind of nice to show you a little bit of a fail, because I probably should have added that full dose of rennet in, but it's still probably going to make mozzarella, which seems so weird. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the stove, and I'm just going to start heating it up. I'm going to stir it every once in a while, and I'll bring it back over here when I see that it's starting to stretch. In the meantime, while that cheese is slowly heating up on the stove over there, I'm going to be keeping a really good eye on it. I don't want it to overcook, but I'm going to make my filling for my burrata. So this is just cream cheese that I made a couple days ago. It's just actually clabber strained off for about 12 hours and to make this kind of thicker cream cheese. Alright, and I already salted it, so it's already salted. I salted it when I made it. And I've got my roasted garlic here. It's still hot. So when you make roasted garlic, all you have to do is push. It should just squeeze out. Usually. Not today. Oh, it's a little bit hot yet. Okay, so usually, nothing is going right for me today. Okay, usually it just squeezes out the bottom. I don't know why I didn't. Perhaps because it's burning my fingers. Get all these little roasted garlics out there. Maybe I got too crusty on the bottom. Maybe that's why it's not squeezing. There we go. Ouch. Hot. Yeah, I must have got too crusty on the bottom. Ow. There we go. Don't follow me for my garlic roasting hacks. Okay, I gotta go stir that cheese. It's delicious. Okay, now we're gonna squish all those little garlics. Squish, 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 squish. Alright, so that's going to be our filling for our mozzarella cheese. Alright, so I just brought this back from the stove here. So it has started to stretch. Now, just to make it a little bit easier to work with, I'm going to pull, now that it's all kind of congealed down to the bottom. And again, this is not how you're supposed to do it. It's just, I'm fixing a mistake here. A blooper. So I'm going to just pull the whey off the top because all the bottom curds are sunk to the bottom. Alright, so before I stretch this, I'm actually going to just dump out all the whey from here. Just made this decision because I'm going to salt the curds before I stretch them. So I have many different ways that I salt curds. Salt mozzarella curds. Many different ways. But this is the way I'm deciding to tonight because I want to eat this immediately. So I just dump the rest of the whey, and then that leaves me with all the curds in the bottom of the pot here. So I'm just going to salt these to taste. It's not just a fresh cheese, it's not going to age or anything, so it doesn't really matter. I'll probably do like, there's this many curds in here. So I'll probably do like half a teaspoon? I don't know. Again, measure with your heart. Yeah. That sounds about right. Just gonna knead that in. Just a little bit. Alright, so now I'm just boiling a kettle of water and then I'll pour that on top and stretch it out. Alright, so I'm ready to stretch. I've prepared a bowl of ice water. I hope this pan wasn't too hot. I think I better put it on a thing. I don't want to burn my counter. There we go. Grab my wooden spoon and just let it sit for a second. Kind of move it around. I'm kind of glad I had a fail tonight. It's kind of nice to show you that you can still kind of usually rescue it in some way. Sometimes you can't get it stretched because it's not in the right acidity point, but cheese is never ruined. You can always save it in some way. It just takes practice figuring out what way that you can save it. You know, if this was so many years ago, I would not have known what to do. If I would open up that pot and it was still kind of liquidy like that, I wouldn't have really understood what to do. So it does just take practice and experience. Alright, so now I'm going to fold these into little burratas. Is this one ready to go? Okay, I don't want to make my burrata too thin. I'm not going to do that one. Let that sit for a minute. So you want to make it kind of an even thickness, your burrata, so that your filling doesn't fall out. Okay, so we'll knead it until it's nice and smooth. Then make it into like a little ball or bun like that. And then flatten her out like a pancake. And try and make it so that, yeah, it's all kind of even, no parts thicker or thinner than the rest of it. Then we're going to take our filling that we made. Beautiful, lovely, yummy filling. And make sure that this thing in your hand is still hot, this mozzarella ball, or else you won't be able to seal it properly. And then you're going to take your edges, like a little baby blanket, like this, and you're going to try and seal it the best you can. Give her a little twist. Okay, like that. Now you're going to put it in ice water, and it's going to hold its shape and hopefully not leak out on us. Yep, it's holding its shape. Do another one. So burrata, this is not a traditional burrata. Traditional burrata has you kind of like shred the mozzarella up into like little pieces, or like make string cheese basically, and then you soak it in cream and then you use that as the filling. I think I'm going to use this whole one here. And then you use that as your filling, but we're making an untraditional burrata because I wanted mine to be filled with cream cheese. And when you're a cheesemaker, you can do what you want. Okay, so I'm going to use the rest of this filling in here, in this bigger burrata. Just as much as I can, but work quickly so that it doesn't cool down. And you want to take all your edges, up, 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 and twist them like that. Now you have a little yummy filled sack. There, that's all she wrote. Good thing I made that much or I wouldn't have had very much for, oh, haha, found one. We'll make a tiny burrata. Wouldn't have had very much to make my pizza. Or whatever I'm calling it. Let it leak out a little bit there. Put it in the ice water. There. Alright, so you don't want to leave it in the ice water too long or else it will start to get slimy on the outside. So I'm only going to leave it in there for just really a few minutes just to cool it down. And I think I can reuse the same plate here. So in a few minutes I'll pull that out. Now let's look at our bread dough. Oh, she's doubled. Alright, so this is ready to make. I'm not going to let it rise anymore after, like I'm not doing a second rise or anything with it. So all I have to do now is turn my oven on, go out and grab my herbs from my garden, and then I can start assembling these. Before I go out to the garden, I'm going to grab these out because I don't want them to get slimy. Little burratas. There we go. Ah, and I didn't lose any filling in there. Just a little bit white from the cheese itself. Alright, so I am ready to assemble. I have my herbs from the garden. I've got basil and oregano. I've got my unmade tomato sauce. I just crushed these tomatoes so they haven't actually become tomato sauce, but they're roasted tomatoes with garlic and onion. I've got my homemade burrata cheese and my bread dough. So I'm just going to do this in this pan here. So generous amount of oil. And then we're going to take some of this bread dough. It's not. Is this enough? Is that enough? I want to go for thin crust. Do I want to do that much? I want more. 1 second. I'm gonna let that piece rest in. I've got a whole bunch here. Okay. So before I get started here, I'm going to grease my pan with the top of it. I'm big into greasing things with bread, if you haven't noticed. Using the dough for your own pleasure. Your own, that's not right. Using the dough for your own needs. Okay, this is a much better chunk of pizza dough here. So the side that I used to grease is going to be the side that goes on top. Now I wish I was like one of those cool pizza people, the pizzeria people, that could like make like a beautiful nice dough. Really, I should let this rest 10 minutes. You should always let things rest 10 minutes. That's a rule for life. Let things rest 10 minutes. Maybe I used too much oil. No such thing as too much oil. Okay, now we're gonna go for some of our crushed tomatoes. Do we want to use all of them? I don't want it to be too juicy. I'm going for girl dinner here. I don't know if that is the thing. Less is more. Are you thinking girl dinner? I think it is. Okay, and then we're gonna do our burrata, I think. Should I use the big one? Big one or little one? Little one. That seems like the right one. And then we need our fresh herbs. Now, a little more olive oil because that feels right. Spent like $10 on olive oil for this recipe. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, now it's going in a hot oven, 450. That's a secret to pizza. It's gotta go in a hot oven, 450. Def should have left it in the ice bath longer. That's why it's flat. Not a big deal though. All the filling stayed in. Yay! Alright, now to eat my girl dinner. Should I put more herbs on it? Yes. I think that's smart. Let's go. Do not spill on the girl dinner. The plan is to like dip the bread into the burrata. I should have gone with the bigger burrata. Why did I go with the little one? Always go with the bigger one. If you're given the choice of big cheese or little cheese, always go with the big cheese. Alright. Hot. Okay. That is so good. Alright friends, thank you for watching my video. I'm gonna continue on with eating my girl dinner here. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love it if you could give this video a like. I am trying to post a video every Monday. I'm working on it. So come back next Monday to see what I post. I have a loose schedule of dairy processing, of a 4-week schedule where 1 week is milk cows, the second week is dairy processing, which this week was supposed to be like some sort of something that wasn't cheese, like some other sort of dairy processing thing. The third week would be vlog style, which this one was kind of, and then the third one would be cheese making. So that's my loose kind of schedule with myself. I've already broken the schedule, but so all those different topics we cover on my channel, tons of different videos around here. So thank you so much for watching and have a good night. Bye. Hickory smoked balsamic.